We're talking with Rob Pannell, probably one of the top 2 or 3 offensive lacrosse players in the world in the last, I think, decade. And Rob, the first question I want to ask you is that I've heard for 30 years about Long Island attackmen, and just it's sort of a different breed. You're certainly a hybrid of that term. And I have 2 questions. Maybe explain what your version of what a Long Island attackman is, and why is it that you have this ability to score? Is it just is your ability to score just an innate something, or is it something you were taught?
I think it's, I would say it's an ability that comes with just playing the game. And, I think to some extension you were taught it, but I think it's also an innate ability to just understand the game and put yourself in positions to be successful. For me, playing attack always came natural, and it was the first position I ever played, and it'll be the last position that I ever play. So it just came natural, and having the ball in my stick was comfortable. And, I think when you look at a Long Island attackman, we just spend so much time with the stick in our hands. And because of that, when we're on field, we can just focus on what we need to do. We don't have to worry about what the stick's doing and where the stick is. And, we've just done it so many times before, and we're just so comfortable. It's almost like a third arm, as I try and tell kids to try and make that stick like a third arm when you're just walking around with it, and it just kind of flows with you. And I think the ability for Long Island attackmen to do that allows them to perform at that high level on the field.
Is there more emphasis on offensive production on Long Island? There might be other places, because you've played a lot of other places.
Listen, I think everybody loves offense, and on Long Island, I think the game in general these days, there's emphasis on offensive production, and everyone loves goals, and everyone looks at the offensive players, and certainly the attackman is getting all the recognition. But I think when you look at Long Island, I think there's just great lacrosse all around, and it allows us as offensive players to hold ourselves to a higher standard when against defensemen that are very good on a daily basis, weekly basis. And growing up, when you're going against some of the best defensemen that maybe you'll ever play against in your lifetime, it certainly makes the game easy for you when you go elsewhere.
I think you mentioned that, it's part of it as well. I play a lot. I think mileage is certainly a part of that discussion, but I just got through interviewing Scott Marr, and we were talking a little bit about the Thompson brothers. And every once in a while in practice, he would literally have to stop practice because they'd make a pass or they would do something that was just innate in their process that he had to ask them the simple question, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that God taps you on the shoulder, somebody taps you on the shoulder and says some things are a little bit different. You've been a scorer since day one. I mean, you've always scored.
Yeah. I think actually it's funny because a lot of people look at me as a scorer these days, and I think that's what the pro game has turned me into. And certainly getting a lot of attention as a freshman at Cornell, and then having some key guys graduate and having to take more of a scoring role. My stats kind of balanced out. But I've always looked at myself as a feeder, and growing up, in high school, my senior year, I had I finished with 49 goals and 81 assists. So I always looked at myself as an assist guy, and that was what I prided myself on, is being able to draw the double team and hit that guy open on the crease for an easy dunk. So I've made myself find the ability to score, and I've worked on it very hard. But I would say feeding comes more natural to me. That point guard position that I started playing basketball in before I played lacrosse. And I just always felt comfortable feeding the ball. And I had this ability. And I think when you talk about this innate ability to kind of see the play before it's happening. And from an early age, I could always just slow down the defense. And when everything was moving so fast, I can kind of just slow the game down and see that if I wait a second or two, this guy might be open, and, understand that when the right time was to pass the ball, not, it wasn't always when the guy was open. It was maybe a second or two later. We go back to just playing a lot too. I mean, growing up on Long Island, my best friends, played at Harvard, Drexel, Delaware, Vermont, and we were playing in the backyard every single day, every single opportunity that we got the chance to. And we were playing 2-on-2 with mini sticks on goals, playing offense, defense, goalie. And we were just understanding the game and understanding, how to use your body in tight spaces and fake and, all this stuff that I think you take for granted. But when I look back on being able to develop some of these skills, it certainly goes back to the backyard, and certainly with my brother as well in my backyard, that just you just have that stick in your hand. You just develop a lot of skill sets that maybe other kids don't, because they're just not out there as much.
Perception's reality, and the reality in this particular case is that we always look at, from the outside looking in, and your numbers would suggest that you were a complete player. Again, we just interviewed Jeff Snyder, and the one term he hated more than anything was Fogo. He never wanted to be listed as a Fogo because he always thought of himself as a, complete player. He was a second-team All-American at Denver, and when he went to the national team in 2006, they made him a Fogo because that's the position they had open. And he says it was one of the reasons he was so successful. He was so, angry that they made him kind of a face-off guy only. He had to work his way back on the field. So sometimes I think we look at from the outside looking in, I don't know that we're always as accurate as we need to be.
Yeah, I think you look at Jeff, and he was probably one of the last few guys in college to be that face-off guy, stay-on guy. I played with one in John Glenn at Cornell, who, was an All-American midfielder on offense and at the face-off X. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
Welcome back to another edition of Michigan Lacrosse Review. My name is Greg Norman, your host. We're talking with the infamous Rob Pannell, who is a member of the Atlas PLL program, and he's certainly one of the great programs. The easiest place to start for these conversations, we always kind of start at the beginning. Smithtown High School, you're a Long Island guy. We kind of alluded to that into the early part of the career. You had a great high school career as a lacrosse player, but you also played football and golf. And I guess one of the things I want to ask you, did either football or golf help you as a lacrosse player? And how do you play golf when golf for boys here is in the spring? So is it there in the fall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. So I played golf for 3 years, and then I played football my senior year. I played basketball for 3 years. I actually played as a freshman and sophomore and got cut as a junior, and then started as point guard as a senior, and then played lacrosse all 4 years. And I would say golf is like my love in sports. And I think it's the individual aspect of it and the mental aspect of it, and the fact that you can always be better. And I think that's sports in general. But golf, I think mentally, from a hand-eye coordination standpoint, really helped me. I started playing golf at a very young age, and it helped me just kind of develop that hand-eye. Playing football is probably one of the best things that I did in high school. I only played 1 year, but I had an unbelievable time. I played every position. I was the backup quarterback. I was a starting wide receiver. I was the linebacker. I was a cornerback. I was special teams. I was the long snapper. I was the utility guy. That's what they called me, and they just put me everywhere they could. And going back, I just had such a great time that I really think I could have been a quarterback, and I would have loved to try and. It was too late as a senior to go in and just learn everything. So I would have loved to maybe play as a junior or sophomore and try and play quarterback, even though I'm not the tallest. I could sling the ball pretty good. So, it would have been fun. And we didn't really throw the ball much. I was the only wide receiver to have a touchdown our senior year. So we didn't really throw the ball. And I wish, I could have maybe brought that. But basketball is the biggest thing. I mean, playing point guard in basketball is why I'm able to do what I am, in lacrosse and playing X behind the goal. I've just always been comfortable with the ball in my hands, and playing basketball, I think, when it comes to using your body and I think about a defender in basketball, right? You can't be straight up really as much. Well, I'm not that dribble and drive, right? I'm not going to cross the guy up. I'm more, conservative, and when I play basketball, right, my back is to the defender a lot, and I'm protecting the ball and, you know, moving, feeling where he is. And I think that really led to lacrosse, me just being comfortable with my back to the goal and being comfortable with my defender being on me and being able to use him against himself. And I think that was, you know, really important for me throughout my whole sports career. To be able to play basketball and lacrosse, I think they're just so similar, and they go together so well.
What's your golf handicap?
I am a 3 right now.
Okay. How often do you get out?
Pretty often. I was a scratch earlier in the year, and then we had the lacrosse tournament come up, and I lost my game a little bit, but probably three times a week during the summer.
Okay. With the name Greg Norman, believe me, golf is become a synonymous. You get stuck all the time with.
When Coach Tambroni texted me that, I was like, "Oh, the shark!"
Yeah,
the shark.
There's a number of jokes, and I'll pass on those. There's the joke is that he's there's always an opposite in the world. He's rich, blonde, and famous, and I'm not. So, I'm not sure how that works out. Playing football for the 1 year, I'm assuming you didn't have the success of football that you obviously did at lacrosse, but did sort of being that utility guy and maybe not having as vital a role in the football team maybe teach you some things about just attitude and locker room and anything like that, or maybe not?
Yeah, I think it just taught me to be open to anything. You know, my role just increased as the year went on, and that's kind of why I wish I played. You know, my last game I started at cornerback and, you know, had an interception, and, you know, I just think it could have been you know, I was just learning the game fast and picking it up game by game, and it's only an 8-game season, and I just got more confident and more comfortable as it went on. But I think that's because I went in with a humble attitude and just kind of open to playing anything. And when they would say, "Hey, does anybody want to try this?" I'd be like, "Yep, sure." You know, sure enough, I was the best long snapper we had, and, you know, it was just like, you know, wherever I could get on the field, I would try. Special teams too, and you make a play, that confidence builds a little bit. You make a catch, etc. So I think, you know, being open, and, you know, I think that's a thing in lacrosse that a lot of guys have to be. You see All-American midfielders become defensemen in college, or, you know, attackmen go to midfield, midfielders go to defense or long stick midi. Attackmen go to goalies go somewhere else, you know, so you got to be open to anything. And I think if you're just willing to help your team and have that positive attitude, and, you know, it'll work out for the best. And I think that's kind of that season taught me to do, and go outside your comfort zone too. I wasn't comfortable on the football field, and you know, I would have much rather been on the golf course, but I wanted to try it, and a lot of my friends played. So sometimes trying something new can, you know, that's not in your comfort zone, can really go a long way.
Smithtown All-American college or high school All-American with USL, and then most of us would have thought you'd have gone to Cornell, but you had a stop in Deerfield at the academy. So you took the Hill Academy. You took that extra year. What was the thinking?
I just wasn't recruited. I was a late bloomer. You know, I didn't make varsity as a freshman. I had 40 points as a sophomore, 70 as a junior, and still wasn't being recruited that much. I was kind of overshadowed by some other guys, some of my best friends. I wasn't the strongest, most physically imposing player. I always thought I made it look easy, and I think that hurt me in recruiting on the field and summer tournaments and stuff. I wasn't the guy that was like, I'm going to go take the ball to the rack every time and try and score goals. I was like, I'm going to do what's best for my team and play a team game. And once again, a lot of assists, a lot of just quarterbacking the offense, and a lot of coaches missed it. Pretty much every coach missed it, honestly. Cornell saw a highlight tape of my senior year after the season was over and recruited me off that. So the extra year was just kind of, after having 130 points as a senior, I just took a huge jump. I matured physically, and, you know, talking to my parents and my uncle, who's a mentor to me and very important figure in my life, he's like, you know, if you're going to play college lacrosse, let's explore all avenues. And Deerfield, I was very lucky to get into Deerfield and go there, and committed to Cornell in November. But there weren't really too many schools recruiting me then either. Penn and Brown told me they didn't have a spot while I was at Deerfield. Harvard was kind of stringing me along. So Cornell was the last school, and came out of nowhere, and I got very lucky. And, you know, I guess some would say they got a little lucky as well.
Where is Deerfield?
In Western Massachusetts, like the Western Massachusetts Vermont border.
Okay. Well, you're not getting recruited. Is that building up the sort of chip on your shoulder that I can do this, or was that not part of that process at that point in your mind?
It was. It certainly was. It was very frustrating. It was a very emotional process, and listen, you're a young kid. You have dreams to play college lacrosse, and when those dreams look like they may not be coming true, it's a difficult thing to deal with. But I think I just believed in myself so much, and my parents were so great and instrumental in that. They would never instill false hope in me. My dad's the most real person I know, and he's competitive as it gets. And if I'm not playing well, he's going to be the first one to tell me. And if I play well, it's expected. So he's not going to tell me that I don't have a chance to play, right? He's not going to tell me that I should be getting a full scholarship somewhere. But he believed that I could play at a high level. And my mom, is my mom. And I never doubted myself. I try not to look at the situation negatively and try to just keep getting better. And, that was my dad's approach. What can we work on? What's prohibiting you from being recruited? All right, let's get a trainer and let's work on your speed. Let's work on your strength and conditioning, so it's kind of just, we're always trying to move forward instead of letting it set us back.
I asked the question because obviously player of the year, you're a high school All-American. I don't think anybody would think now at this point that there was a point in your career where, I didn't get the attention that I'm getting now as either a college or a pro player. And I think that's a good sign for a young man who might be, on that cusp of just knowing that there's other guys that went through. It's the Michael Jordan story of not making the JV team when he's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
How do you cut Michael Jordan in high school? Well, there's those situations where it's sometimes appropriate that it is what it is, but this is a good example of that.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the best things that can happen to a person, just from a working standpoint, just from just approach things with a different way. When I was the only one of my friends to not make varsity as a freshman and played on JV, I used it as an opportunity to be the leader on a JV team and to work on my skills and to motivate me. And I think, when I was younger, I didn't make club programs. It wasn't the scene that it is today. And, there were only 2 on Long Island, and I didn't make those 2 for a number of years. So, you can take that situation and let it fuel you and take advantage of it rather than let it set you back and look negatively around on it. And I think I was able to do that. And I think that was very important.
Dad was a college athlete, yes?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Do you think that helped in terms of his temperament and the way he handled you, of maybe having not been a dad who played at a high level?
Yeah. He's extremely competitive. I mean, even till this day, like we'll play golf and, he'll just be, we just compete. And even if he's not there and I'm playing, he'll call me and be the first one, how'd you play? And it's almost like he'll get upset if I don't play well. And, but yeah, he comes from a family where that's they're competitive, and all his brothers and sisters went to Ivy League schools and very smart. And he was the athlete though, and he instilled those values, and he loves sports. I was born in December, and that first Christmas I had 8 different sports items around me, and that's what I was born to play sports, and I sure enough I loved them. I did love them. And over that, over my life, he just instilled that love for them in me, but he also instilled that competitive drive and just kind of that ability to just continue to get better. And he coached me in basketball and baseball, but he never coached me in lacrosse. He coached my younger brother. And I wouldn't be here without him today, because the mindset that he instilled in me is the mindset that I have right now. And that's the one that keeps pushing me to be my very best each day.
What did Dad play at Brown? Soccer?
He played football and baseball.
Football and baseball. I'm just curious, was he at Brown the same time that Lars Tiffany and Jamie Monroe were? Because they're all.
He was there when Dom Starja was there.
Okay.
He's 60, so he's a little older than those guys.
Okay.
I don't think he was there when Lars was there.
No.
No.
Brown comes up a lot in these conversations because it's kind of it's one of those crossing points where there's a lot of guys that had gone through there
Yeah.
or had participated there. So it's what's Dad do now?
He works in insurance with my uncle. We have a big brokerage in Garden City, so
Which let me touch on that because you're actually a part of that. Am I not mistaken?
I am, yes.
What's your degree from Cornell?
It got in finance, and it's a degree in finance with specialization in strategy and marketing.
Would you be involved in insurance if you were a football player making millions of dollars versus a lacrosse player, or is this just hedging your bets because you need a second job?
No, yeah, listen, I think it's the beauty of our sport, and it's the positive and negative, right? I wish I was making millions playing lacrosse, doing what I love, but the great thing is that I was able to get an Ivy League education, and I can use that in many ways while I am playing lacrosse, whether that's being entrepreneurial or that's working in insurance with my uncle. That's great. Lacrosse allows me, my sponsorships allow me to do, to be as much as a full-time lacrosse player as you can be. But, I'm the way I'm driven, and the way that I'm wired is I'm always trying to do new things and learn and continue moving forward, and certainly prepare myself for life after lacrosse.
Professional goalie, and this story goes back about 12 years. A professional goalie who played at that time for Denver as a backup. They had traveled to the West Coast to play, and they made $500 for the weekend, and then they made $150 or $200 per game to play. And the starting goalie got hurt the first night, and they used to play in those days. They play on Friday night and Sunday afternoons for a television contract. So he didn't play on Friday night, and then on Sunday the goalie was hurt. The starting goalie was hurt. They still didn't put him in. So finally get back on the plane and come back to Denver and ask the coach why he wasn't in the game. He said, well, it would have cost me $300. I'm talking about. He says, I had to put the starting goalie and keep him in because if you went in, even only went in for a quarter, it'd cost me $150. And I'm thinking, he said at that point he realized that he needed to probably not make lacrosse as a career, because we're talking about the beginning stages of pro lacrosse, and it's a little better now. But I always found that story to be kind of funny and tell it. These guys think they're going to come up and play. So when did let me back up. You good student at Cornell?
I was a pretty good student. Yep. I graduated with a 3.3.
Okay. Which in an Ivy League school is, obviously it's a very good degree. At Deerfield, when did Jeff Tambroni, who was your coach at Cornell, who's now the head coach at Penn State, when did Jeff sort of come on the scene, and how did that all work?
He came in end of October. It happened very quickly. Ben DeLuca, who's also my coach at Cornell, went to Deerfield, and he kind of had the ties there to Chip Davis, who's there now, and we kind of just, a lot of people were reaching out trying to get schools to look at me, and Coach Tambroni actually had the highlight tape on his desk. Never watched it, and then he kind of got my name from multiple people. Two of my classmates at Deerfield were going to play there, J.J. Gilbane and Chip Doherty, and they mentioned my name to him. So finally he watched it, and it really happened like a week. They went up for their official visit. Cornell they weren't recruiting me. That week they called me. That next weekend I was up there, and then on Tuesday I committed. So it happened very, very quickly. I don't want to say I was desperate, but I certainly, when Cornell called, my parents were like, all right, well, we'll pick you up tomorrow and we'll go up there and we'll check it out. And that's exactly what happened. And Coach Tambroni called me on Tuesday and asked me if I'd like to commit. It was between me and one other guy, and I guess they chose me.
Did your skill set fit with what he was teaching and what he was kind of trying to accomplish? I say that because your first year, you're Ivy League Rookie of the Year. You then go on and have 3 monster seasons as sophomore, junior. I know we'll talk a little bit about the injury at the end of your junior year?
Senior year. First senior year.
Senior year. But I mean, did what he did as an offense fit you, or is it they kind of molded around you?
I think it was how Cornell played, but he started to mold the offense around me very quickly. And, we had guys like Max Sebald and John Glenn, and to their credit, they kind of just were okay with it. They're like, all right, this freshman's going to come in and he's going to run our offense, and, we're going to see what happens. And I had no expectations, from everything that had happened to me. between like not making club programs as a young, when I was young, and not making varsity, and not being recruited. I was just very humble. And like, if something good was happening, I was um, very guarded. Like, is this really happening? Can this be happening? So no matter, like, I didn't go into Cornell like I'm going to start, right? I went in like I'm going to work and I'm going to try my best to get on the field. And I went into the first captain's practice, and I played midfield because all the upperclassmen are there. They'll attack me. I'm like, I just want to get in the game. So I went and played midfield, and I had 2 goals. And people were like, all right, who's this kid? And I was the last guy in my class. I wasn't like I was the number 1 recruit in my class. I was the last guy. And then sure enough, like, we had our alumni scrimmage where the alumni from the previous years come up. We play them, and I had guys like Ryan McClay and Mitch Belisle covering me. And I just went at him. I was like, all right, let's do it. And I don't think I started the game, but I went in and played the rest of the time, and turned some heads. And fall ball scrimmage started, played well, and soon enough, my first game against Binghamton, I had 7 points, and that was that. And after that, it was like, all right, this is kind of Coach Zambroni we just went in that direction. And I think the style of play, with kind of being very slow and, there's no shot clock. We were very organized in our offense, getting everybody on. We ran through our sets. And for me to be able to quarterback that and be able to dodge from X, and to have the guys around me that I had, I was very lucky. It was very easy to come in as a freshman and do that. You have a first team All-American, you have a second team All-American, in John Glenn. Arguably could have been a first team with Max, and Rocco Romero, who's an all-Ivy midfielder, Ryan Hurley, who's an All-American, and then, Chris Finn and Kyle Doctor, who were, great attackmen, 6 of us. And it was easy. They made my job easy, and they allowed me to be comfortable back there. So it was kind of like the perfect storm, I would say, as far as that group coming together at the right time. And that's why we went to where we did.
Was there a point before your senior year where you kind of knew, was there clicked in your head that you knew you had that kind of talent? Or is that just something that you didn't really ever thought about?
In high school?
College.
In college?
I don't mean it in a cocky way, like all of a sudden I'm the best guy on the team, but was there a point when you kind of know that, listen, these guys can't stop me?
I think, when I was named Attackman of the Year my sophomore year, that was really big for me. That was really big recognition, and I didn't expect that at all. So that was a big point for me to just realize, like, all right, I'm playing at this at a high level. And I think some of that doubt they just kind of disappeared. And I just started to play very confidently after that. Like, no one could stop me. And, I took that on my shoulders for our team. It was a big, winning wasn't that much fun for me. It was more of a relief, because I put so much of it on myself, and, knew that, if I could play well, we'd have a good chance to win. And if we lost, I put it all on me. I needed to play better. So, but I was okay with that. I saw what Max dealt with as a captain, as a freshman, and I was ready for it. So I think that sophomore year was a big year for me, going back to the Final Four, having graduated those seniors, and yeah, just kept moving forward. Just kept working, though. Like, you can't take a break. You just gotta keep going and keep trying to be your best.
No matter how successful you are, there's always a certain amount of self-doubt. And then I think sometimes accomplishment breeds confidence, because if everybody else is saying it, maybe I can sort of put away the ghost of that I'm questioning. And I think that's true of anybody that wants to be successful, because you're always, kind of examining what it is you can be better at. And if you're examining it, you're never thinking that it's, so the end of your junior year, you make USILA Player of the Year, All-American, and end up becoming the best player in college lacrosse. ESPN even puts you on their best college athlete of the year, which has got to be kind of cool. Did you end up at the ESPYs with that award?
I did. I didn't win the award, but I was there, and it was pretty.
That's got to be a trip, being in a room with all that talent.
Yeah, it was awesome, but that doubt was still there. I didn't win Twarton that year, so that was like, I was I wasn't say I was surprised, but did I think I should have won it? I did. Steele had an amazing playoff run with Virginia, and they won the championship. So he took it home, but so I didn't win it to Wharton, and then I was nominated for the ESPY. So it was kind of like it made me feel a little bit better, and that was just an amazing experience. It was just bizarre. Like I was interning on Wall Street, and I was at Citigroup, and I was on the desk when the news came out, and like all the guys around me got like, they saw it like on their screen or something, and everyone was going crazy. And I remember just like, it's like asking like my boss, I was like, you think I could like go to this and like take 2 days off?
I think it's okay.
So
when you walk in a room like that, and let's face it, at that point with football, basketball, and everybody else in that room, lacrosse is a secondary sport, a niche sport at best. Does you get treated like that in the room, or is it everybody's sort of equal?
Yeah, I mean, I was a junior, right? I was young, and it would be cool to go back now, which I did when last year. I wasn't up for anything, but it was cooler to go back then and be a little more accomplished, and maybe some more people know who you are. But yeah, it was. I mean, listen, I was a college kid going to the ESPYs, and I did not belong at all. But it was a really cool experience, and it was just cool to be walking around and seeing all the people that were there. I don't really like to bother anyone. Very few people that I would go up to if I saw. But through walking around, you're able to meet a lot of people, and it was cool. It was an amazing experience, and honestly, it was just such a cool award to be nominated for.
Yeah, it's if nothing else, it's a great place to network. Get a chance to spread your wings, and from that standpoint. Your senior year, you come out, you play 2 games, you score 16 points in those first 2 games. So obviously, you're off to a rocket ship start, and then all of a sudden, and you're also first round draft choice of the New York Lizards. So my question to you is, you got hurt, you had to come back for a 5th year. When you're a pro draft choice, is it loyalty that brings you back to Cornell for that senior season? And talk a little bit about the injury and having to sit, because this is the first time I think in your career that you had to sit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And what brings you back for your 5th year, having been drafted by the pros?
I wanted to win a championship so bad, and I felt like we could have done that my senior year, and we had a great team. And I just, after losing in overtime my freshman year, literally that's all I worked for, was to just get back to have a chance to win that national championship. And at the end of the day, that's why I came back, and I wasn't going to try and do it anywhere else other than Cornell.
Was that loyalty to Jeff to some extent?
Well, he wasn't there. It was he left after my sophomore year. So it was Ben DeLuca was the coach for my last 3 years, and loyalty to him 100%. We were extremely close. He's like a father figure to me, and I couldn't not play for anyone but him. And we had talked so much about getting back there together, and that was part of it. I think it was loyalty to the alumni who were so great to us and so supportive. And listen, I was doing what I was doing at Cornell. Like everything that you mentioned and all the wins and Ivy League championships, we were doing that at Cornell, and I couldn't be doing that anywhere else. So, I couldn't imagine myself doing it anywhere else. It was a no-brainer to come back to Cornell, and obviously a little bit of a complicated situation, but it was. I couldn't have put any other uniform on.
You have any big red stuff hanging in the closet still?
In my closet, I might have some stuff in there. I don't know. I got a ton of stuff, around this house somewhere, but a lot of stuff on the walls.
We're always loyal to our alma maters, and I asked that question because I asked that question of Jeff about being at Penn State. I asked him if there was still, when you're a coach, you go from one school to another, you got to get rid of the swag, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different for a player, but I still asked him if there's anything red hanging in the closet after he spent 10 years in Ithaca. So it was
he's got to have something lying around.
He says he still has his son wearing a jacket around Penn State campus, and I guess the Penn State athletic directors don't think that's too cool, but the kid wears it, so what the heck.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a George Boyardi shirt around somewhere.
End of your senior year, coming back for the 5th year, you win the Twarton Trophy, which is, sort of the holy grail of lacrosse. tell us a little bit about the feeling when is that sort of the ultimate validation?
I still wanted a championship. Toward I was like, listen, I was very confident at that point, and I thought I was the best player in the country. Like I said, I won Player of the Year as a junior, and thought I probably should have won Toward, but I was glad I finally won it. But I came back to win a championship, and I didn't do that. We lost in the semifinals again, but I'd say the ultimate validation for me was in that semifinal game. We were down 12-6 or 13-6, and I kind of just said, screw it. And, I'm just going to leave it all on the field. And we came back, and we almost came back and won that game. And I just left it all on the field, and I felt like I had nothing left in me after that. And I felt like I was done playing college lacrosse. And I think that was really important for me to feel. And, Twarton came a week or so after, but leaving that field, I was okay. I was at peace. And I think that was important.
Loss in the semis, though, still even to this day stings a little bit, yes?
Always will. Syracuse won my freshman year. That's the one that stings the most.
Why do good coaches and good players, why is it that they seem to can't let go of the negative stuff, and they can be adorned with all kinds of awards, yet it's the putt they missed on 14 5 years ago? When you interview golfers, I've interviewed some unbelievable golfers, some world championship golfers, and they can remember a putt that they'd missed as a junior in high school when they were 60 years old on a particular tournament. It still burns in their brains, and maybe that's what separates them from everybody else.
I think that's exactly right. I think it's just the way the best are wired. You don't get anywhere by looking at what you've done. You don't learn from that. You learn from what you could have done better. And I don't know. I've always hated losing, and the wins were just expected, and they were just another thing. And, we won a lot of games at Cornell, but I couldn't tell you those. I could probably name all 12 that we lost, or whatever 15 games I lost in 4 years. I could probably name all those, but I couldn't tell you all the games we won.
By your own words, you kind of finished on that field. You left it there. It's kind of start over. And now we come to 2014. It's time to start over as a professional lacrosse player. When you come out of Cornell and you're looking at working even in your family insurance business or working on Wall Street, the money as a professional lacrosse player had to at least put some of the brakes on as far as making a career out of it. So I guess my first question is, what's your thought process going into being a pro for the first time?
I think the first thing was just playing, and I wanted to see if I could do this and see if I was going to be successful. And I had a good rookie year, and sure enough, some sponsorships came calling, and I had started building up on social media. So I kind of put the other stuff to the side. And Max Sebald is a best friend of mine, and he was doing camps and clinics all around the country. So I kind of joined up with him to learn how he does it and learn his ways. And I was a full-time between endorsements and playing and doing camps and clinics. I did that for 3 or 4 years before really doing much of anything else. And I'm doing insurance now, and I got a little more entrepreneurial on the technology side of things within lacrosse, but to a certain extent, I still am, I consider myself a full-time lacrosse player. I go in the office for insurance now too, but I do love lacrosse. It's been very good to me, and I'm able to piece it together between the coaching and the sponsorships and playing. It's only got more lucrative over the years. Certainly playing, and the endorsements and the contracts that we're signing as players, and now at the PLL we're getting benefits which we've never gotten. So it's been great to me. I sometimes I look back and want to. I regret that I didn't go to Wall Street and, look at some of my friends who were, in Wall Street and comfortable, buying homes and having kids. And I just live a different life than them though, and then sometimes I got to check myself and realize that, my life is not that right now. My life is being the best lacrosse player that I can be. And, I travel a lot and I love it. And I still love it. It hasn't taken its toll on me. So sometimes I think about that, but at the same time, won a gold medal in Israel, and I would not have been able to do that if I was on Wall Street, because I just wouldn't be who I am. And, championship with the Lizards and in the PLL and in the bubble. So it's been great. And I'm just so lucky that I've been able to do it full time. And I think that's been part of it. I think I'm at an advantage because a lot of these guys do have full-time jobs, and I'm able to, my day revolves around my training. Like I was 10 minutes late to this today because I was at the gym and it went a little long, but that's my, that's what I prioritize.
I asked a question. I have a 31-year-old son who's 3 weeks older than you, who played at Denver for 4 years. So I know a little bit about Division I lacrosse from that standpoint.
Yep.
And he's not married, following a different path, and he's finishing up his schooling, actually living here for a while so we can finish up schooling. And same question. He's going to all kinds of weddings and all the rest of it. But we all pick a path we pick because they make sense to us. And it's just the way the nature of the business goes. And there's not a right or wrong way. It's what makes you happy.
Yeah. I was born to compete, honestly. I just love it. And as long as I can compete in lacrosse and be at the best that I think I can still be better. And I do think I can be right now, at least for a few more years. I'm going to compete because that's just who I am.
A question, coming out of high school, college, there's obviously an adjustment. From college to the pros, we all know about the guys that are rookies that, Detroit here, we've got DeAndre Swift, who came out of Georgia, is the greatest thing since sliced bread. As we read interviews, he's kind of overwhelmed at the professional level. Coming out of Cornell, stepping out of that field for the first time, you at that point were the best lacrosse player coming out of college. Was there a huge difference between what you played at Cornell in terms of ability and the pro level? Was it that much faster?
It was. I had a hat trick my first game, but it was – I woke up the next morning. I thought I got hit by a truck. I got out of bed and I took like 2 steps and I got right back in. Like I had a soreness that I had never felt before. And so the physicality standpoint was a next level. And I think just the speed, like sustaining that speed over the course of a game, like I think I had a hat trick in the first half. And I think I slowed down a little bit in the second half, but I also had the Twarton ceremony 2 nights before, so that probably didn't help me either. But yeah.
Playing with men instead of playing with boys, and I'm not suggesting college or boys, but in that vernacular, that's.
Listen, lacrosse, and I will die fighting this statement. Lacrosse is single-handedly the highest, most concentrated pool of talent at the professional level. You are getting the best players from college. It is very tough to play as a rookie. And when you go from, Division I lacrosse, 70 teams to, 6-7 teams in the pros right now with 18 guys on a roster, like that is crazy, crazy concentrated pool of talent. And it is, you need to be on your game to play. And it is very tough to come in as a rookie and play. You look at the PLL this year, granted, a lot of guys took an extra year, but there's maybe 1, 2, 3 rookies that have success. And, there's guys that know how to do it, know how to play, and they last 10, 12 years and they don't lose their spot. And it's tough to compete with that.
It's actually not a new argument. I had a father who grew up and was a career minor leaguer who played for the Rochester Americans, but we had 150 games in the NHL when there were 6 teams, when there was only 6 NHL teams. And if you think about that, go back to the same talking about concentration point.
Yeah.
Of all of guys in the NHL Hall of Fame in Toronto that were second and third line centers on their particular team and still made the Hall of Fame. Well, when you only have 6, if you took the National Hockey League right now and made 6 teams out of it, how good would it be?
Oh, it'd be insane.
It would be the same process when you concentrate that kind of talent into a smaller group. And it kind of brings me to my next question. And you kind of stayed with the box or with the field guys for a while with the MLL, and then all of a sudden you don't join the PLL, the traveling circus, until 2020. So you didn't join them right away. That's accurate?
Yeah, I was under contract in the MLL. Yeah.
Okay. So now you get a chance to go play in this concentrated level of talent. Take it from the MLL to the PLL. We watch it on TV, and I can tell you what I see.
Yeah.
It's like watching JV high school and then watching a college team.
Yeah.
PLL is fun to watch. So has that been a good experience?
It was. It was great. I think the bubble was an interesting first year. It happened so quick, and we didn't have much success as a team. So when you're in a bubble and you have 2 weeks, and you're not really going to figure it out in 2 weeks, it's going to be very tough. So it was a good experience from a lacrosse standpoint that we were able to get it on. It was on NBC, and I think it was great for the sport. But I'm looking forward to hopefully a normal season in 2021 where, we have more games and I can feel it out a little bit more. It was a lot in 2 weeks to play that much and practice that much. So certainly hoping for a different experience in 2021.
Does the traveling circus that Paul Rabel has set up from town to town, you lose the idea that, Rob plays for the New York Lizards, or there's no real hometown loyalty, if
Yeah.
you will. And that can be a good or a bad, paradigm, because it seems to be working, because the numbers seem to be, the numbers bear out that going from community to community makes sense. And it's a different model than what we're used to in pro sports.
Yeah, I don't think it'll stay that way forever. I think it's a new league, and they're building the brand, and they've done an unbelievable job. You could argue they've built the brand quicker than any sports league has, and from the social media interactions and getting on NBC, and I think they're just getting the brand out there, and I wouldn't be surprised in 3 to 5 years that there's city-based teams. I don't know that, and I'm not speaking from. I'm just guessing that that's what it'll get to.
Before we talk a little bit about the Attack Academy, I just wanted to ask you about what it's like, and I've had this chance to ask the guys who've played for their various national teams. What's it like pulling on the Stars and Stripes versus playing for any other team that you've played for? Is it different? And that's kind of the question I've asked everybody.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, that's the best thing that could ever happen to a lacrosse player, as far as I'm concerned. It was, growing up, that's, going to Lacrosse Unlimited and seeing the magazines that would come out, USA, and, be selected for that team and to be on that team. It's just different. No one cares. Well, obviously everyone cares who's on the team and who you are, but, there's the egos are not there, and it's just, you're there to win. You're not there to score. Who cares, right? No one cares who's doing what. Everyone just wants a gold medal at the end of the day. And I think it's really special to have the best players in the world to just throw that out the door and to just say, I'll do whatever's needed of me to win.
Every 2 years we get a chance to see the golfers talk about the Ryder Cup and wearing their those interviews are different on NBC than they are the rest of the 2 years.
Yeah.
And yep. I got a feeling that it's the same. You walk out that first time and it's not Atlas and it's not Cornell, it's USA. There's just got to be a bit of the hair on the back of your neck that stands up and gives you that one little extra. Yeah, it seems to me you'd have to play better just because of that heightened focus that brings it into kind of view.
Yeah, it's also there's also a calming presence to it as well. Like, all right, I'm playing for Team USA. I'm here, and you're just comfortable and calm. And I've always felt calm with a USA jersey on, and felt in the right place. But yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to playing lacrosse in the United States, to put that USA jersey on for the men's national team there's nothing that compares to that.
The finance degree, the business degree from Cornell has got to be a good start for you. You signed in 2016 with Balance and Warrior. I say that because the Warrior factory is literally 5 miles from my house here.
Warren.
Yeah, not that far from where I live, and we're fortunate enough. We just purchased, I think, 50 brand new Warrior Burns for my college club team.
Oh, awesome!
Where we've had great respect for Warrior. You've also are part of the Roar Beverage Company. Is that?
I was not anymore. We're still, I guess, technically SLM. So I got Roar, One Brands, which is like One Protein bars, Chop Fit, which is an exercise tool that I use. Yeah, I've got a few deals. Some have changed over the years. Some have stayed, some have gone. 5 Hour Energy was one in the years. That was a cool one. Wheaties. So I try and pick ones that I've had, longer relationships with. And New Balance Warrior and One Brands have been, 3 of them that I've had for numerous years now. So it's been great.
I won't ask specific dollars because it's none of my business, but is it you make more money on endorsements or more money playing lacrosse?
Endorsements.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that question because I think sometimes people get confused that there's this, the 10 or 12 or 15 guys, there's all kinds of $1 million athletes playing the sport. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as part of that business then, we see you a lot doing a lot of YouTube videos. We see you a lot in terms of visibility, which is something that I think social media has got to be a part of your brand and your branding. Talk a little bit about the Attack Academy and just kind of what the process was and I'm giving younger players a chance to understand how to play better.
Yeah. Listen, I've been doing camps and clinics for so long, and I was doing every position, and I'm like, I know what I do best, and that's attack. So I started the Attack Academy to just focus on teaching offensive players, midfield and attackmen, everything I know about offense, and to teach them not only the lacrosse IQ aspect of it, but to teach them how to train, what they should be working on in their own time. So through on-field instruction, where we travel, and Grant Amen is now part of the team, and we'll travel and we'll do camps and clinics all over the country. And then I've invested a lot of my money and some others' money into an app, and we have it's called the A3 Lacrosse app, Attack Academy app, and it is probably one of the best resources in an offensive lacrosse player can tune into, because it's got numerous drills for players to do on their own, but it's also got instruction from Grant and I in numerous aspects of the game that kids can just watch over and over again and learn until it becomes second nature to them. And I think that's so important, to be able to watch videos and learn, because you go to a camp or you go to a clinic and you learn, but you probably forget it. So to have a resource where you can tune back into time after time is so important. And we also have a feedback feature on it where kids can train from home and upload video, and we can give them feedback as well. We also do live Zoom sessions, and there's a ton of offerings that come with the app, but we try and pair that on the field and off the field so that we can provide kids with a training experience year round and allow them to constantly be improving, because I know that's what I did when I was younger, and try and improve in the off season so I was ready, during the season.
In a world where kids are interested in shooting half-court shots and not doing layups, what is it that in lacrosse that our young folks are making mistakes in? What would you had a group of kids, high school kids in front of you, what would you tell them that they're offensive players? What are they doing? Maybe what are they doing wrong?
I trying to shoot too hard, probably trying to rip the net. You look at kids when I go to a field and shoot, I see kids down the other end just ripping shots, when they should be focusing more on, I used to bring balls out to my backyard, and I used to work on my footwork and my question marks and my inside rolls and my rockers, and, walk through it rather than run through it, and just be really detailed about it. But like when I'm doing that, I'm not just focused on my footwork, right? I'm focusing on my stick positioning, so that when I turn, where's my stick? When I do a question mark, right, I'm going in, but my stick is out away from my defender. So, walking through that and understanding why my stick is in the place that it's in. Every time we go out and we practice full speed, when a lot of times we can be, half speed and getting better. And I think that's something that I've done over the years. And that's allowed me to do it at full speed when it comes game time. But, I can literally see myself when I was 12 in my backyard doing this stuff. And it was all about being very, I'm missing the word, but I was just like very detailed in what I did. And I would look at my hand placement, my foot placement, and I did it slow and then worked my way up. So, it worked for me, and I think it's very important for kids to understand that, because lacrosse is such a sport of skill. If we get those skills down, we can really see our true potential.
You mentioned being a 3 handicap golfer. Being a golfer, you have to understand biometrics and body metrics.
Yep.
I always teach in our area that if you don't understand the point of release, you're never going to be a good shooter, because if you don't understand how the hips work with the shoulders, and I think there's a very similar comparison between a golf swing and a lacrosse overhand shot. I think there's some
Yep.
very obvious things that have to happen. And I think it's concert with a lot of other sports, but I see so many kids that don't shoot with the core of their body, then it's all arms or it's
Yeah.
all. Did golf help you some in that process?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you talk about lag and kind of letting the stick come through. I think the biggest thing and the reason I'm a good golfer is that I use my legs so much when I golf, and people don't think of that either. And I think when you shoot a lacrosse ball, you have to use your legs. And a lot of kids are so upright and stiff. And I'm like, just bend your legs a little bit and see how much faster your shot goes. And just by just doing that, and you're like, oh, wow. You know, I was like, yeah, your legs are going to drive that shot. But, you know, when I say to kids, everyone talks about, you know, what part of the body is most important when you're shooting. And I was like, it's a trick question because, you know, it's not your core, it's not your legs, it's not your arms. The truth is that if they're all not working together, you're not going to get the best result. Right. So, you know, you should be slowing yourself down and make sure that everything's working together properly so that you can get the best result.
Early on in my golf career, I slid with my hips rather than turn.
Yep.
Finally, I got to be about 20, and somebody taught me to turn correctly.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the ball, you know, it's those small details that sometimes we forget. And with video being available, your phone can show you, you know, those kind of things. I have one last question to kind of wrap up. You haven't really jumped into the box world. I wonder if there's a reason.
When I first started playing, my endorsements were, when I first started playing, the outdoor season and the indoor season overlapped. And my endorsements were structured towards outdoor. So if I were to get hurt indoor and miss outdoor games, I could risk not getting paid. And part of me being a full-time lacrosse player was so dependent on those endorsements. So I didn't want to risk that injury early on. Yeah. I never really been injured. So maybe, you know, looking back, I think playing box would have made me a better player. But it was, you know, my bread and butter was outdoor and playing behind the goal at X. And, you know, I tried it and I enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, by the time where the seasons have changed, and although now this year they're going to overlap again, but, you know, the last 2 years prior, you could have played both and guys have, but, I'm 30, about to be 31 in a few weeks. And I'm just trying to last as long as I can outdoor. And I know if I go indoor, I'll have a bullseye on my back, and I don't need that.
I'm amazed at guys like Brody Merrill and Greg Gurlian and some of these guys that are playing in their late 30s and early 40s. It's kind of cool. There's a bunch of it's the way you can keep yourself in shape and eating and all the rest of it, but you can play to a longer point of your career than you could before.
Yeah, no, I think I got a few years left in me. I don't think I'll go to 40, but maybe 35. We'll see. We'll see if New Balance and Warrior still have faith in me. No. I'll play, you know, until I think I'm on a downtrend, I'll keep playing.
Last question, and that is, what's next?
What's next? You know, I think I'm you know, I've changed some things up in the way I train and eat this season, which I try and do every year. So I'm excited to see where this takes me for this coming year. I want to make a run at one more world team, see if I can make 3. And besides that, you know, I think I got a few years left of me, but I'm looking forward to finishing my career and playing at a high level. And I'm also looking forward to focusing my competitive nature and you know, my drive and into something else as well. So, you know, whether that's insurance or something else in finance, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to that because it's been a great run in lacrosse. And, you know, I don't want to take advantage of that run. I don't want it to go too long where I'm playing and I shouldn't be. So, in the next few years, I'll be ready to move on, and I'm excited for that. But I'm excited to be my best in the next few years as well.
Is coaching a part of the future?
I'll always coach at some point. I don't think college coaching is. I think the only place I could coach just because of my loyalty is Cornell. I don't know if I see myself living in Ithaca, New York, although I do love it. But my family's here on Long Island, and I love my family, and we're tight. So maybe high school volunteering, you know, I could see that happening. But I'll always be coaching kids, and the clinics and stuff is definitely that'll be part of it until I have my own kids one day, hopefully. And I will not coach them. I'll coach them in the backyard, but I won't coach their teams.
Rob, I appreciate all the time you spent with us. You're a model young man, and it's just fun getting to know a little bit about you. And, you know, we hear stories, and then we get a chance to talk to those guys. And, you know, one nice thing about this thread is that everybody's been so terrific about just having a conversation about lacrosse. And then right now, with not playing and not having that opportunity to get out and bang it, you gotta find outlets. So we wish you the best. You are certainly one of the best players in the world at the moment, and I'm sure that'll continue for a while. So thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Greg. This was great. It's always nice to connect with someone new and also to reminisce on lacrosse. And like you said, lacrosse world's a special one. So we got a lot of great people in the world and in the lacrosse world, and it's a close group. So I'm glad Coach Tim Brony reached out and we were able to connect.
First class guy. Thanks again.